Well, good morning and welcome. How's everyone doing? I'm Claire Rosenzweig. I am President and CEO for the Better Business Bureau of Metropolitan New York and also for the BBB's Education and Research Foundation. I also want to thank, we have another BBB here. We have two representatives from the Buffalo, actually the upstate New York Better Business Bureau. They made the trip down. Again, you know, the Better Business Bureau, without taking too much time, we are one of about 112 Better Business Bureaus covering the entire continent of North America. And of about those BBBs, I'm going to say about 50, Dawn, have foundations as we do, separate 501c3s as opposed to the BBBs, which are 501c6s. We're all part of a federated system. So we're all over the place, and charity review is one of the functions that can be either the BBB or the foundations. But today, what does it mean to be an effective charity? And how does being an effective charity help an organization with its sustainability? It's a timeless issue, and this is the 10th time that the BBB's foundation is bringing you a forum where really we can dive into it and explore it. Because it's a very fast-paced world, as we know. We're all experiencing an ever-changing environment in which we as charity leaders need to address a new generation of challenges. Today's program addresses key insights about how nonprofit business models are developing and evolving. To explore this, thought leaders will share succession planning. They will address organizational sustainability considerations and practices. And as we always are, we're excited to hear what they have to say about that today, and I'm sure all of you are as well. Two of our BBB charity accountability standards talk about effectiveness. They say that charities should evaluate their effectiveness and report the results to their board at least every 2 years. And we believe, as the BBB, that we need to facilitate having a forum where we can help you succeed at being effective and having impact. So every year we take a deep dive into the topics related to these two standards. That's why we do this program. There are 20 standards. These are just two. At every event we've done so far, as everyone in this room knows, these events don't just happen. They don't just happen out of thin air. So I do want to take a few minutes to thank everyone. In particular, I want to thank our symposium's anchor sponsor, American Express, and our major sponsors, Emblem Health and the New York Community Trust. Their support really makes this day possible. And we have Richard Brown, Karen Chaikin here, New York Community Trust, they're here somewhere too. And beyond our anchor sponsors and major sponsors, we also want to thank the Center for Nonprofit Strategy and Management at the Baruch College School of Public Affairs. This is the 9th time that they're hosting us in this incredible event space. David, thank you so much. They also provided program expertise to putting the content together for our event today. We had an incredible program committee who worked closely with us to plan this symposium. I've heard some of you say that the content is really great every year, and for that, again, we do have to thank our committee. And of course, Luana Lewis, who helps pull it all together. I'm going to read the names of these committee members because I think they really, they have earned this recognition. Doug Bauer from the Clark Foundation, Miguel Bonilla, and again, you can see them up there too. Richard Brown from American Express, Ronna Brown, Philanthropy New York, Mark Castle from BNY Mellon, Jack Krauskopf from Baruch School of Public Affairs, Katie Leonberger, Community Resource Exchange, Cindy Lott, Columbia Law National State Attorney General Program, Lauren Miller and Victor Valentine from United Way of New York City, David Oakhorn, Long Island Community Foundation. He's also on our Foundation Board, Hilda Polanco, our chair for the foundation, for our foundation board, and also founder of Fiscal Management Associates, Valerie Reardon from Emblem Health, also on our board, Laura Rossi, Westchester Community Foundation, and Alan Sesso, Human Services Council. Their help was integral into putting this program together, so thanks. Also, lots of thank yous, but it's worth every one. We're thrilled to have 20 organizations collaborating with us. We really appreciate their help to create awareness for this event. Many of you in the audience are representing these important groups. And again, we invite anyone to go to the table where they've put information. I'm sure they would be happy to answer your questions about various things that they do. And our 2016 supporters, you can see them scrolling. And of course, all of their information is in your kit. And of course, as I said, the BBB staff, Luana and all of them that you've seen helping today. It's a combination of staff, volunteers, interns. We're really fortunate at the BBB to have a lot of people that help us get these programs done. So a few pieces of business. In your kits, you'll find index cards. Those of you who have been at this event before know the drill. You write your questions on those index cards during the presentations, and we will have our BBBers walking around and picking up those cards, delivering them to the moderator so we can have as many of those questions addressed as possible. As I said, we have a sold-out event today, so make use of the chairs so latecomers don't have to climb over everybody. So if you can, squish to the middle. And you will find evaluation forms in the packet. Every single year, we really examine those evaluation forms, and the program committee looks at them so we can develop content to build. So every program that you've been at, you know that they build upon each other. We have a Twitter hashtag today. It's hashtag BBB Charity, and we really invite you to tweet away. And I'll get it right one time. And thanks to Baruch, we also offer free Wi-Fi. I will read it just in case some of you have trouble seeing it, but it's long. It is, in caps, D-G-N-D-A-W. I better start again. That's D-G-N-D-A-W-M-S-S-Z. That's for Wi-Fi. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce David Birdsell, our host. David is Dean and a professor at Baruch College School of Public Affairs, and in turn, Dean Birdsell will introduce Chief Sheehan from the Charities Bureau. David.
Thank you, Claire, and good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's wonderful to see you here. I'd like to welcome you to Baruch College, to the School of Public Affairs, and of course, what I think deserves some emphasis, to the 10th Charity Effectiveness Symposium. Claire said that this has been a popular program, well reviewed for the quality of the conversations and of the presentations that are made here. And I can't second strongly enough that sentiment. We have been honored and pleased to be involved in this discussion, which is a discussion that, of course, speaks to our core as we prepare leadership for the public and nonprofit sectors, people often who have careers that span both of those locations in the fullness of a lifetime, and as we do research into the problems that we face and try to certify the kinds of solutions that actually make a difference. Today, the theme is transitions. And there is no question, and I'm sure no question in the minds of anybody seated around the room today, that transitions are around us in many places. We have different approaches to funding nonprofits. We have different approaches to attracting and retaining talent in nonprofit organizations. We have different approaches to cooperation and sometimes to merger to try to link interests and capacity across the sector. Let me suggest that there are at least 3 places where we can begin trying to make sense of what transition means, 3 loci of transition that we might keep in mind throughout portions of the conversation today. One is the individuals who lead and who serve in our nonprofit organizations. How do they get there? How do we keep them there? Of course, we do that by offering the best salaries of any industry in New York, right? That's not going to be our approach. So how do we create a welcoming and nurturing environment that isn't a fiscally punishing environment for people with a deep sense of mission and a passion for service? That's not always an easy question to answer. There are a number of organizations. We're proud to be involved with many of them, including one nonprofit fellows program, the New York Community Trust, and I see Michael Seltzer leads that program sitting over on the north side of the room here. But there need to be many more. There are 600,000 people employed in the nonprofit sector just in the 5 boroughs of New York. And a point of comparison, when John Seeley and Julian Wolpert did what they called a census of the nonprofit sector in 2000, there were a bit more than 500,000 people employed in 25,000 organizations. Now those 600,000 people are employed in 43,000 organizations. They had, at the time, Seeley and Wolpert, about 9,000 what they called operating charities, which were responsible for about 85% of the revenue and the work following on that revenue done in New York. Today, that number looks more like about 18,000 of those operating charities by their definition. We desperately need another survey, by the way, and another census of the sector. But think about these numbers for a second. You have almost 200% growth in the number of organizations, however you want to describe it. You have about 20% growth in the number of people. So more people spread across many more organizations. That makes just an arithmetic case about size and about some of the challenges that more people seeking that funding looks for. So first challenge is people. How do we attract them? How do we keep them? Second challenge is at the level of the organization itself. How do you keep these organizations afloat in a revenue environment that we know is not generous and not likely to get more so anytime soon? And if you do have a 180% figure of the 2,000 organizational base, what does that mean for the competition for resources, and how do we think about the way this is going to unfold as we move forward? Claire mentioned that one of the big themes we're going to talk about today is management models. Management models will be a part of the answer to that question. Let me suggest it cannot be the entire answer to that question because of the third locus of transition, and that is the sector itself. We could make this as broad as society, but just think about how we look at nonprofits today and the role that they serve. We know that the organizations represented in this room and beyond throughout the city are responsible for the vast majority of social service delivery here. And that's true in any major metropolitan area, in most rural areas across this country. The funding, in the case of 85% of social service budgets in this city, comes from government. But we know that those government contracts do not fund 100% of the needed services or the cost of providing those services. By statute, in some places, or by regulation, that becomes a 95% figure. But the director of the Interagency Service Center for Nonprofits, Fran Barrett, said at Nikon's Camp Finance last year that a good average figure is probably covering, through government contract, 60 to 70% of costs. Where does the rest of it come from? Well, the assumption is that it comes from private philanthropy or foundation support. But think about what saying that means. That means that, of course, private philanthropists are desperately trying to align their giving with government programs and the specific requirements of contracts. Not. Is that happening in the foundation side? No. Good intentions, lots of capacity, but major fault lines in the coordination of what are vital, literally life and death services for the millions upon millions of people served across the state by these organizations. Now that you're all happy and calm, this audience today is the right audience to tackle these kinds of questions. We have funders, we have nonprofit leaders, we have scholars, we have long-term students of participants in this sector who in each of the previous 9 years have provided at this event a terrific conversation based on experience, based on insight, based on vision. And I have every confidence that that is exactly what you are going to do today, and we are just thrilled to have you here doing it. Many thanks to the BBB. Many thanks to all of the people that Claire thanked and many more on our side. I won't list them here.